everyone, and welcome to the first episode of a new playbook series on rethinking internal onboarding sessions. I am Prachi from AirMeet, and I'll be honest, I've planned and hosted hundreds of virtual events from large scale webinars to internal team sessions. But this one is a little personal because onboarding isn't just another event, it's where employee experience truly begins. So at AirMeet, we have seen firsthand how onboarding has shifted from task list to a meaningful culture building moment. It's no longer just about logistics, it's about creating belongingness, clarity, and connection from the day one of joining the company. So that's exactly why I am excited to be joined by Kunal, someone who has helped companies evolve onboarding from formal processes into an experience that directly talks to our employees and impacts our retention and growth in the long run. Thank you so much, Kunal, for taking out time and joining us here.
Thanks, Prachi. Excited to be here. And you're so right, onboarding today is about creating emotional and operational alignment. That too, right from day one. It's not a welcome email or an organization chart anymore. It's putting out your culture on display.
Definitely. So let's just start with the basics, Kunal. Let's zoom out a little bit. 5 years ago, you would agree, onboarding for us meant that here's your laptop, here's a manager, read the handbook, and you are good to go. Slowly and steadily, in past 2 3 years, we've been seeing that things are changing. This is not how the experience is right now for the new joinees. So now people and employees expect more. What is that shift, Kunal, you've seen in onboarding expectations in 2025?
As you mentioned, onboarding has definitely evolved over these years. But in 2025, the shift is more noticeable than ever. So, what we are seeing is that new hires, especially when we talk about Gen Z, come in with pretty clear expectations. It's no longer just about forms or formalities for them. So, within the first 2 3 days, they're already forming opinions whether they belong here, whether this is the right place for them. In fact, some recent surveys show that over 70% of Gen Z employees say that they judge a company's culture just by the onboarding experience, and that's huge. So it's become less about ticking HR boxes and more about building trust and making people seen. So what we can do here is instead of a generic welcome new hire email, it will make a huge difference when a manager takes some time out to write a small personalized note, or let's say someone from the team hops onto the quick call just to say, hey, we are glad you are here. So we worked with a tech startup recently. They were redesigning their onboarding to be more experience driven. So small things like storytelling during welcome sessions, buddy system, or a 90-day success plan. This all efforts help them drop these all efforts saw a 30% drop in the attrition within the first 90 days. And that's the power of human-centered design. So yeah, I would say onboarding today is less about ticking HR boxes or the process and more about concentrating on people and creating moments where they actually feel connected.
Thank you so much, Kunal, for I think pointing and calling out that personalized note from manager. That is a big difference maker. And in fact, I've seen customers here use AirMeet not just in doing one session or two, but to design this full welcome journey for their employees, from founder AMA sessions to those team mixers on the day three to interactive games within the whole week. So that energy, the way you are designing your onboarding session really makes a difference for the employees who are joining, because that shows how the culture of the company is and where they have signed up for. So now, Kunal, let's just go ahead to the next thing that I have in mind is the day one. What makes a new hire say that this is exactly the place where I belong?
This feeling of this place gets me on day one. It usually comes down to three simple things. First, a genuinely warm human welcome, not a bunch of forms or links, but someone actually saying they're glad you are here. It could be a short call, a thoughtful message, or just the way the first conversation feels. Second, having leadership show up, even briefly. I've seen companies where founder or senior leader pops in just for 10 minutes on day one. So this small gesture creates an instant sense of belonging. It signals that new hires matter and that too right from top. And third would be shared energy, as you mentioned. So being around those who have also joined recently creates a connection. It helps people feel like they are not figuring it out alone. And that's why we are seeing more companies use tools like AirMeet to create onboarding lounges. So these are basically virtual spaces where new hires can meet each other, interact with teams, ask questions. It is casual but powerful. And at the end of day one is about belonging. So not broadcasting. When you get that right, people don't just join in, they commit to the culture.
Onboarding lounges, Kunal, amazing thing. And I have been having conversation with some of the CSMs here at AirMeet, and they also told me some of the stories where the customers hosted events where the employees on the day one get to react, chat, or participate in the trivia games with the leadership live. It's like magical for the employees as well. One customer even ran an onboarding escape room. Imagine that challenge in their first week of engaging with these games, and that actually reported for that customer 20% faster social integration within the people on the first day of their joining. So I think these small things, but a big difference maker for them to feel a part of the company, having that belongingness to the company. All right. So let's zoom into something that often gets missed, which is expectation setting, Kunal. So here's something that I've been hearing a lot in onboarding surveys, that we don't just want a role, we want a roadmap. So what has changed about what new hires expect right now?
I love this line. Like, we don't just want a role, we want a roadmap. Because in precise, it really captures where the new hire expectations are headed in 2025. So people coming in today want clarity. They're asking, what does success look in my first 30, 60, or 90 days? Not just what task I have to complete, but how do I grow or contribute? Or like they want to be feel aligned with the bigger picture. And they're also looking for context. How does my work actually connect to the company's mission? But when that link is clear, motivation naturally follows. Another big one is flexibility. If someone misses a live onboarding session, they want to know whether they can catch up without missing out. So, asynchronous sessions isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's part of showing that you respect people's time and their learning styles. And I think like more and more people are reading between the lines. They're asking themselves, is this onboarding or is this how the company really operates? So things like transparency, knowing who to go when you're stuck, and consistency across teams really matter. Because like in the end, onboarding isn't a separate experience. It's the first chapter in the story of how company treats its people. Like I had a story. So one fintech we worked with actually sends out personalized 90-day success maps. So blending onboarding tech with live sessions, they saw a 40% jump in time to productivity. So when you give people a clear path, they start contributing faster and with more confidence.
I think this example that you shared with 40% increase in time to productivity with this 90-day success map idea is amazing. And I think our audience would also be excited to hear more about it. But before that, let's just talk a little bit about the formats as well, because one of the major parts is format that plays an important role while creating or planning this onboarding program. So what is the kind of onboarding events that actually drive that emotional connection with the employees? So basis of your experience, can you share something?
So, like I would say, emotional connection isn't built through slides. It's built through shared moments. And what really works well is starting with a warm, like welcome, where new hires can ask questions, but not just listen. Founder firesides or AMAs are great too. Like hearing the story right from the leaders make a big difference. Then this peer mixes, like even something simple like team trivia or escape room that you mentioned, or speed networking. So it helps break the awkwardness on day one and help in early bonding. For global teams, I would suggest showcasing different regions or like impact stories will make a huge difference. It helps people see the bigger picture. So the key is keep it live, keep it human, make it interactive, and that's where platform like AirMeet really shine. with things like side chats, breakout rooms, reactions. So it is close as we get to replicating that hallway connection virtually.
We're talking about that airmeet features like reactions, polls, side chats. I remember myself that session, onboarding session that I had with airmeet. We were asked to introduce ourselves via emojis. I know it was a little chaotic, but definitely very delightful. I still remember who I met on the day one. And I think which is the whole point of having these onboarding sessions and having these engagement things there. Great call out, Kunal. Now, what are some of the most common onboarding mistakes you still see happening in 2025?
Yeah, so I would say even in 2025, some mistakes are quite common. Like one is cramming day one with back-to-back info sessions, no interaction, no space to breathe. Another one would be giving everyone the same generic tag. There's no personalization at all. Then there's lack of feedback. No one asks, "Hey, how was your onboarding?" And like by the end of day five, it's just radio silence, no check-ins or no follow-ups. But you know what the biggest miss is? Not involving managers. People don't leave companies; they leave managers. So onboarding is a key moment to build that relationship early, and this like when this is skipped, you will feel it later reflected.
Now, let's just talk a little long game in the journey. What's that link between the onboarding and retention?
So the link between onboarding and retention, it's like direct and pretty powerful. Like some facts is that companies that invest in experience-led onboarding see up to 43% lower first-year attrition. Like they also get people ramped up faster, sometimes 30 to 40% quicker, increase productivity. But like beyond these numbers, great onboarding experience creates culture ambassadors. So folks who refer others, advocate for the brand, and choose to stay. And the real ROI is when your onboarding becomes a story that employees actually want to flex or tell others. So that's when you know it's working for you.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that I would also like to add on to this is the LinkedIn, which plays a very important role nowadays. We've seen new hires post about their onboarding on LinkedIn, tagging their company and saying that, hey, this is my day one and I am sold. Or I had an amazing experience with all these people who took this onboarding session and the leadership highlighting there. I think that these small things are the powerful brand and culture builder for the organization in the market. And again, not just market, there is a lot of people who wants to join the company, look forward to how the culture of the company is. It is a good example how you showcase things. So, Kunal, thank you so much for joining us and kicking off this playbook the right way, I would definitely say. Any final thoughts on this episode one?
Yeah, I would just say onboarding isn't a start date anymore. It's your first real chance to deliver the promise that you made during hiring. So make it count and make it human because people remember how you made them feel, especially on day one.
I love the way you highlighted make it human. That makes a huge difference. So I cannot agree more on that. So, for all our audience, this was our episode one, and we'll see you in the next episode. Where we would go deeper into building personalized onboarding journeys for our employees at scale and see how to actually get buy-in across your organization. So, see you in the next episode of the onboarding playbook.